Welcome to the show with no name. Okay, today is Friday, September the 20th, 2013. A just gorgeous last day of summer. I guess it's the last day of summer.
Last full day, yeah. And it's supposed to be up to almost 80 degrees again today.
Wow. And the Red Sox clinched a playoff spot last night, and by the time the evening was over, had reduced their magic number to one.
And the Dodgers clinched theirs last night, and the magic number is 0.
Yeah.
Though there was some controversy yesterday.
Why is that? With the Dodgers?
Yeah, they were.
They're only about 10 games ahead of their nearest competitor. What was the controversy?
Which was Diamondbacks. They were requested not to celebrate on the field if they clinched it yesterday at the Diamondbacks field.
Why is that?
They just didn't think it was appropriate. So the Dodgers went into the clubhouse and had their little celebration. But then, several of them, being a hot day in Arizona, went out and took a swim in the pool.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
I had the sound off when I watched it.
They went out swimming in the pool.
That was considered a controversy?
Yeah, well, it's one of those unwritten rules.
Well,
though I'm not sure.
What is the purpose of that pool? It seems to be chlorinated.
I thought they ought to be used. But since the Dodgers don't have their own pool at Dodger Stadium, they were just taking advantage of what was there.
Well, that's absurd. Did anybody think that the Red Sox would not celebrate when they won the World Series in St. Louis in 2004?
No.
Oh, can't celebrate on the field.
No.
That's crazy.
But there's been they've been bad blood for a number of years with the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers, and there was certainly bad blood this year. But they asked for them not. They did. They were not on the field. They were in the pool.
It seems to me that if the Yankees, for example, were to clinch their division at a game at Fenway Park, there might be 35,000 people yelling "Yankees suck," but I don't think anybody would fault them for it. That's crazy.
Not at all.
I can't even believe that they would be asked.
Yeah. Well,
not to do that.
That's kind of the era that we're living in.
That's ridiculous.
Now the Red Sox have the best league in the best record in the American League, right?
They have the best record in baseball.
So that means they'll play the winner of the one-game play-in, correct?
Not necessarily. No.
I thought if you had the best record, you had the home field advantage and got to play the worst team.
You get the home field advantage, and you get to play the worst team unless they're in your division.
Unless they're in your division.
I believe.
Well, that's certainly... Now, that doesn't seem fair, because I can understand you want to have these games all over the country.
About that, but I think that's true.
You should still be able to get to play the worst team in the league if they're coming as a play-in. It's unfortunate they're in your division, but we'll find out.
Is this the first year we've had the extra wild card? Or
intentionally, yes.
Yeah. Well, there have been other times when they tied and they had to play off.
But this is the first official one where you've had two wild card teams make the have a chance to get into the playoffs. So.
But they got one game. I mean, you work hard to get to be the wild card team, and then you're out in one game. Could be.
Because otherwise you're talking Thanksgiving by the end of the World Series.
I should know the answer to this, but it seems to me this is the first time the Red Sox will have won the Eastern Division in a long time, I think.
Because when they got in the World Series, they were...
Both times, I think they came in as a wild card, didn't they? Did the Yankees win both times?
Yes, I believe you are.
One year they tied... They tied with identical 96 wins. The Red Sox get 96 wins, and they come in second place because the Yankees beat them one more game during the regular season.
Head again.
So they went in as a wild card and got quickly bounced. That was a few years ago, 2008, I think, or something like that.
But the one advantage now that both those teams have clinched, they can spend the next week setting up the pitching rotation for the playoffs.
Right.
Which is important. You want your best pitchers to pitch as many games as possible. in there. So
it'll give Buckholz 2, maybe 3 more starts. Which he needs, having been out from June till a couple of weeks ago. But wow. Anyway, let's we may get back to baseball later. We're doing a short show today because Gavin had things to do, so we're starting late. And Jim is off babysitting someplace.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah. Anyway, so does the school district suddenly have a plan for Bacon again, or what?
There's been a number of discussions about Bacon. They've had some issues over the last several years with the location of the central administration building.
Yeah.
It's an old building. It needs some major repairs with the boiler and the roof. And they're considering, and that money is not aidable because there are no children in the building, so it's all money that has to come from the general fund. So they're trying to find some way to do this without incurring any additional expenses for the taxpayers. One of the ideas that's been floated was that they, and this has been talked about before, to move the central administration building to Bacon. That in itself doesn't generate any money from the state because there are no students as such that qualify that attend Bacon.
Right.
We do have the alternate ed program and GED program and in-school suspension program up there, but because those students under state regulations are still assigned to Amsterdam High School or Lynch Middle School, they don't qualify. So one of the idea that was floated the other night at the board meeting was to move our kindergarten classes up there, which would allow the money to follow the kids, as they say. That would allow state money to be used to do what needs to be done to Bacon to allow that to happen.
Okay.
So that's what the discussion was. They had our current architects walk through the building and see what needed to be done, what could be done, come up with some ballpark numbers and see what happens. That way the money that's spent on that building is aidable. The money spent on CAB, where it's currently located, is not aidable. It all comes out of the and you have a large number of offices. You have the the data processing center is there, and they have the school warehouse down there in the basement. So all those things would have to be relocated to Bacon if that's what they decide to do. So they asked the architects to go back and look at some other changes they could do there. That there were some questions from the board about doing it. One of the things that was raised was that, well, if we take all the alternate ed programs out there and put the kindergartners in, could we do less work? Yes, you could.
When you're talking about all the kindergartners, you're talking about all the kindergartners in the district?
Yeah. Yeah. There would be 12 kindergarten classes.
Wow. How many classrooms are in that building?
How many are in there now? 6, 10, 13, gym, amphitheater, offices. There's quite a few classrooms in there now.
Yeah.
The one concern that I had, well, it sounds like a good idea, but if they decide not to do as much work and then move the alternate ed out, where's it going to go? It's going to go back to the high school. And to a person who's been involved in the district, whether it's in the high school or any place else, the fact that you've removed from the environment of the Amsterdam High School those alternative ed students, the students who are academically and behaviorally challenged, there's an entirely different tenor taking place at the high school. When I was there, we did have an alternate ed program within the high school, yet those students were still present in the high school, so that didn't remove their influence on the atmosphere and the tenor of the building. So if they decide to go to Bacon and remove the alternative ed and put the kindergartners in, I think we take a step back academically.
If that's the only option for them.
If that's the only option for them. The other thing that came about, in order to do this, they would be doing some construction, some additions, and they would have to do something with the gym. Okay, you've got what you would say a normal-sized elementary gym in the place. But if they want to do some of the things the architects suggested, you'd have to put a roof over the gym part to create another floor for additional classes, which would lower the ceiling, which would negate some of the options that you currently have. And you have a 14-foot instead of a 20-foot ceiling. Well, a 14-foot ceiling, you can't play basketball on that. You can't.
It's fine for kindergartners.
It'd be fine for kindergartners. And the reason the question of the ceiling came up is because of all the programs, the community programs they have up there now that utilize the gym as it is. So, should that be a prime consideration? I don't know.
Well, don't forget, all those programs existed before they started using that gym at Bacon, because for a number of years, nothing was being used at Bacon, right?
Correct. But the programs that evolved that went into Bacon also didn't really exist before then either. So that's something they're going to have to take a look at. So there's a lot of ideas that are being bantered around. It's food for thought, and nothing's going to be decided in the next
What about the warehouse
months.
space? How much warehouse space do you need?
Well, that, if you look at CAB now, 90% of the basement is warehoused data records, hard paper records, all the supplies that the district has for the buildings.
That's a lot of basement space.
A lot of basement, a lot of stuff down there. All the pallets of paper. So there's a whole lot of stuff there. The other thing now, if you open up Bacon again as it was, you're going to generate a whole lot of traffic through there again. You're going to have buses coming up there, twice a day.
Well, of course, everybody in the neighborhood didn't want the school to close in the first place, so...
Yeah, the people didn't want it to close because it's my kids, but the kids going there aren't going to be all their kids, the neighborhood kids. So they're looking to see what's possible, what's practical, and what can be done for the best advantage of the taxpayers and the best advantage of the students we have.
Well, if you need the warehouse space, we've still got a few thousand square feet available at 100 Church Street that would suit your needs actually quite well, and real cheap. So, if you want to rent. City's looking at some of that space to store automobiles and stuff.
That's a thought.
Yeah, that's a building that's in great shape that needs to be rented out. So, and the school district's always had a nice, warm relationship with the Walter Elwood Museum. So so think about it.
That's a thought.
We rented space from you. Now you can rent space from us.
There you go. That could be a good thing. So that was a lot of the discussion the other night with the architect's plans and drawings they presented about some of the options they have at Bacon.
Well, how much? Suppose you didn't move the kindergarten over there, and you just wanted to move central administration into there. How much would you actually have to spend to get the building in order, recognizing that it's 100% locally funded? If you do that, it's 100% locally funded if you put a new roof down on Liberty Street as well.
It's 100% taxpayer. Yeah, we're at. I think what Kim Brumley said, we're at 92.2% reimbursement on construction related to students.
Yeah.
Okay. It'd be over $500,000 to do the things they need to do down there.
Is that right?
$500,000 and $800,000.
Well,
down there. Now, how
just on the central administration stuff?
Yeah, and the building there. Now, how much would it cost just to move the administration to Bacon and do what they have to do? I don't know. We didn't see that.
You weren't looking at it that way.
When it was presented, they hadn't looked at it that way. Though I think that's something that they ought to take a look at. Because there are a lot of offices down at CAB.
Because in the olden days, the central administration was attached to the junior high in the old post office.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And there were quite a few less personnel down there than what they have now. There's more equipment they have down there at the central administration with the computer systems they have down there, at least with all the
Well, you have
storage.
those ancient, expensive mainframe computers down there, don't you?
I think we got one left down there. But a lot of the IT stuff is housed at the high school now, where Eric Shaw works up there in the back of the media center. So, that's always evolving. So, but they're probably going to, at some point, they're going to have to make a decision. Are we going to keep them at CAB or move them someplace else? So at least we have some options to look at and see what's going to be the most feasible option to do the most we can for the least amount. Because one of the things that was emphasized at the meeting is we and the architects said this flat out. We're trying to see what we can do that is least expensive to the taxpayers in the community and provide for the kids as best we can. And the things that they were looking at up there all becomes aidable. If we rented space,
You're going to end up busing a lot more kindergartners.
Well, we're busing kindergartners now too all over the district, because since they're not neighborhood schools anymore, you do have kids going from different parts of the community. You got kids from Techler come over to McNulty, or kids in McNulty go over to Barclay, because of being magnet schools. But that was somebody did bring up the suggestion, well, why don't we just go back to neighborhood schools and we can save all that on the busing. So they'll have to come up with a plan and present it to us so that we can decide what's most feasible for the community. There's a lot of stuff going on. They have some great presentations at the board meeting. We had some people that had gone to a national conference in D.C. and they came back excited, because a lot of things they talked about that other challenge schools are going through that have been doing it for a number of years, we've begun to do already, and hopefully there'll be some fruit bared out of that that'll will improve. And they came back with a lot of good ideas. We were fortunate, we had a grant that we were able to send a number of teachers, not just administrators, to these things, because the teachers are the ones who, when a teacher says it's a good idea, people are more inclined to say it's a good idea than when the principal does.
Right.
And if they come back excited, tendency are they're going to be excited.
They're the ones who
staff.
have to implement it.
That's right. And they, being in the classroom, know some of the right questions to ask that perhaps an administrator doesn't think to ask, because he's not practicing anymore in the classroom. So that was good that they had that. We are also hosting in January the regional robotics competition at the high school. The robotics program, Amson's been involved in for the last 3 years. He's done very well in the competitions, but this will be the first chance to have a chance to host it. And they've got some high-powered people coming from RPI are going to be the judges and things, and they're pretty excited about that. Get out some of the good stuff that we do here in the school district and have people see what we have. That's good. That sometimes gets overshadowed by other things that occur. So,
yeah, other things
that occur. So we're getting there. We're getting it. It takes time. There's another talk show in Amsterdam, in case you haven't ever heard of that, and they were really banging away at the fact that it was reported that 50% of the students in the Amsterdam school district read below grade level.
How many?
They said 50%.
Okay.
And my question, my retort to that is, what's that based upon? 50%. Is it based upon the old Basil's readers that we used to use? And I'd say we probably had 20% of our kids in my class. If I was thinking back real hard, that maybe had a hard time and struggle with that. Well, no, that's not what they use anymore. They use a series of complex reading assignments and passages determined, which is far and above what we were doing when we were in 3rd grade. It was more like what we're doing in 5th or 6th grade. And not only that, they've also changed the way they measure what the kids do. So have all our kids jumped up to that super level? No. But now that we know what that super level is, we're going to come a lot closer to that in the future, because now you've seen what the game is. Now, you've been playing cricket in England all your life, and You know, you've been doing reasonably well, and this year we said we're going to send you to Major League Baseball and play baseball because we've still got a bat and a ball, and some of the guys wear gloves. What's the big deal? Well, first time you go through it's a big deal. Maybe the second time it maybe not so bad because now you have an understanding of the game and what you have to do to be successful. And that's
and what are they comparing it to? I mean, if they're comparing it just to the other students, 50% are always going to be at or below grade level, right?
it would seem because everybody isn't as bright as everybody else is. You know?
Well, yeah. I mean, otherwise you don't. Yeah.
You know, and one of the things that I won't say that the state and the feds have wised up to is to find out really what you've done as a teacher with your class is what kind of individual growth do these kids have. Now, your class was exceptionally great when you were in high school.
Well, my class
was, and so
exceptional.
So you guys just, you guys just cleaned up. The next year, my class comes through, and at the end of the year, they said, "What the hell? Did I do that bad a job of teaching?" Well, no, you didn't. But the fact of the matter is the product you were working with wasn't quite of the same caliber the product was the previous year. So what the state is attempting to do, and they're still trying to figure out how to exactly do this, is to see how much did Gavin grow during the year you had him, as opposed to how much did Gavin grow against Bob Going, who was here last year. All right? So, yeah, geez, Murdoch improved a whole lot. It still wasn't up to what Going did, but there was advancement, and that's one of the things they call that. They're always looking for these technical terms. They call it value added, to see exactly how much growth an individual has from year to year, rather than taking a group and going and measuring that group at the end of each year and say, well, how come these kids did so well and these did so poor, or vice versa. You got my class.
This year's fourth graders did worse than last year's fourth graders.
Yeah, how come? Yeah. You know, how come John Battisti's class is so far behind Murdoch? Did we do that bad a job of teaching? No, they were just not the quality they were to start with. So they're looking at some of these
the class behind you was pretty exceptional too.
Yeah, we were kind of the valley, I think. We had some good ones, but but that's when these numbers get thrown out, the numbers really have to be thrown out in context to see, so you have a real understanding what's happening. This
it's also got to be apples to apples.
That's right. In this past year, there was a number of changes that took place, not the least of which is they weren't sure what the form of the assessment was going to look like at the end, nor how was it going to be scaled out, what the rubrics was. Because it's not like when we went to school, you took a test, you had 50 multiple choice questions and you had 2 25-point essays to write. Well, you knew if you got all 50 questions right on part one, you're getting 50 points, and if you got 44 questions right, you got 44 points. It's not like that anymore. You usually there's either 48 or 49 questions. 49 will get you 50 points. 47 might only get you 45 points. Okay, because they have this rubrics that they use. All right, and in some of the math questions in the lower levels, certain questions are worth more than others in the same framework. If you get question 48 right, question number 48 right, that might be worth 2 points. All the other questions on the test are worth 1 point.
It's a harder question.
Because it's a harder questions, and because they expect fewer kids to get that question right. So there's a lot of playing around with numbers in education that the practitioners, the teachers in the classroom, are trying to figure out how it's getting played so they have an understanding of what they're facing. And some of the stuff that the national tests and the state tests do, are really counterintuitive to what you think should be done to determine how well somebody's doing.
Do they look at IQ tests anymore, or has that been phased out?
No, they don't use those.
Not even in the signing classes?
No. The signing of classes is simply based upon your previous year's grades. At the end of 6th grade, if you did real well, you got a 90 average or above in science, we'll put you in the accelerated science class in 7th grade. If you didn't, then all the kids are getting mixed up. You kind of sift out some of the cream from the milk. You get the advanced. In 8th grade, you take biology or you're taking algebra because you did well. The other classes are all mixed in together, and there's no difference, you know. And what that the cream gets to do is they get to take 2 Regents exams at the end of 8th grade, which will give them getting 2 credits towards your high school graduation already, and then get you from bio, earth science to chemistry to physics, and then have a chance to take an elective in your senior year.
And leaves room for AP classes.
Yeah. And see, even AP in a lot of places.
Do they even take IQ tests anymore?
No.
Really?
No.
Huh.
No.
It's the one thing I had going for me.
You spelled IQ correct, right? We now a lot of places are concerned about the AP test. Now, AP is a national exam.
Yeah.
Everybody in the country who takes the AP course takes the same exam. And after the exams are all graded is how they norm out what your score on it is. Okay, they have the curve, and so the top 15% get a 4 on it, the next percentile gets a 3 on it, because it's based upon 0 to 4. All right, so you may get 90 on it this year and get a 4 on it. You get 90 next year. Maybe there's a lot of bright kids, you only get a 3 on it.
Huh.
So again, it's not straightforward. And a lot of colleges, to be honest, don't like the AP. All right, because in the past, if you got a 3 on it, a 2 or a 3 on the AP, they take the credit. That's a C or a B. All right. A lot of places only take a 4 now, and a lot of places don't want to give you anything for it because you're not taking the courses from them. And if you're not taking the courses from them,
they don't get paid for it.
They don't get paid for it. But the thing now that's all the rage that a lot of kids get involved in, and I really think is a better process, is these college in the classroom courses, because they're taught just as the U.S. history class at the high school is taught the same as the U.S. history class at FMCC. So it's a better gauge of your ability to do college material, right. And as long as you get a C or better, all the colleges in New York State will accept your credit. And along the way where you stand. The AP is a 1-day, 3-hour or 4-hour crapshoot. If you have a bad day and it's a tough test, you're not going to get any AP credit out of it. You work all year long, you see you're getting B's and A's and C's in your course, at the end of the year you're going to have your course completed, you're going to get the credit, and you're done. Plus the fact that the college and classroom courses are generally about 1/3 of the cost of taking it when you go to college at FM.
Do they still do the combined senior year and freshman year with Fulmont program?
We have students from the high school who attend FMCC as seniors, and generally the only thing they take from the high school is their PE class and 12th grade social studies and English. Everything else they can take up there. So they could actually be taking basically your senior English here and be taking your first year English up there, or second year English, however they work it out. So yeah, we do have kids who are pretty much full-time students at FMCC. Now that raises another controversy. See,
who's valedictorian?
No, yeah, no deed goes unpunished. Absolutely, because now do you cut off the kid who goes to FMCC now?
Yeah,
for
you're no longer eligible.
Okay, I had a 98 average after 3 years. I'm going up there. I know my 98 average. I'm first. Now, what about the kid who spends his senior year at the high school taking all his classes and ends up getting a 99? What happens to that kid who went up there? So there is when I was there, we arranged it that you had to have 22 out of 24 high school courses you need for graduation had to be from the high school to try to even the field, because you had kids who wouldn't even take an honors class in English as a senior because they want to keep their grade up.
Well, yes, and I've always thought that was intensely unfair, and also pretty stupid of the parents to put the kids, let the kids take the dumber class.
Take the easy way out.
Yeah.
We've had.
One of my kids, I won't mention which one because you can all, then there's no point in it. But one of my kids was taking that advanced combined English social studies thing, and didn't do particularly well, but was doing stuff that was a whole lot harder than the kids in the regular classes. And my kid was, essentially lost some class rank as a result of it.
They're penalized.
Yeah. In the end, it didn't matter, because if they're going to excel, they're going to excel.
Yeah, but that becomes a problem. We had that case one year when I was there. Fortunately, the deserved student ended up with a half a point higher, even though she'd taken every math course at the high school we had to offer. She was taking math courses at FMCC. She was taking a math course online. And she was just far and away above. But the other kid had taken the easy route and was eking up, and it's hard,
It was true even when we went. I remember really being annoyed by getting outranked by a student who was taking mostly business classes. And this person couldn't touch my knowledge of general academic subjects. Really, I mean, it was like, fraction of a point difference, and it really didn't make any difference in the long run of either one of our lives. But I think you got to weight those things.
Well, some schools do. Some schools will weight the
It's like it's like the difficulty of the dive. The execution is excellent. How difficult was the dive? Okay, so you got to. Yeah.
And a lot of schools have done away with valedictorian, salutatorian, and they've gone to the top 10 in the class. Okay, and a lot of those places that have, because why should this person be ranked number one even though they got the highest grades in a Bryce Kid school? What about my kid? Should my kid get? It's all.
Or you can do like they do in Fort Edward, or Hudson Falls, one of those places where they did away with the summer reading contest. Who read the most books? Because the same kid won 4 years in a row. It's not fair. We'll make everybody the winner.
But I have found in life, though, some people are winners and some people are losers, and sometimes the quicker the kid finds out about losing, the better they're able to deal with losing, and they also oftentimes aspire to win.
By the way, both librarians were fired. The one who put in the stupid policy and the one who blew the whistle on it.
Sometimes the little
international attention, Hudson Falls, New York.
Yeah. Oh, that's like the football player down in Spencertown. You see that? Tim Holloway used to play for New England and the Raiders.
Okay.
He has a beautiful home down in Spencertown. He spends time in the winter in Florida. His son is up here, and he's on Facebook and finds out there's 300 kids partying at their home up here. They absolutely trashed the place. They did over $20,000 worth of damage.
Whoa.
To this place. I mean, there was graffiti, there was urine on the carpets, they broke the windows, they put holes in the wall, anything imaginable you could do to the structure, these 200 to 300 kids did. So, he comes up and he said, I spent about 30 minutes on social media. And he went through, and because these kids are all Facebooking and
I did see something about that. They're all taking their pictures.
Oh yeah, right.
And what a great party this was.
Oh yeah, there was videos of it. Not
right.
Just
so he was putting up said, who are these people? And
and they put them up, and they were able to identify a bunch of them. Now, he's got parents want to sue him because by doing that, he's wrecking their kids' chances of getting college because they're going to
be... He's wrecking it. He's wrecking their chances.
And the guy said, don't they understand what these kids have done? Don't the parents have any responsibility? I mean, honest, if Misha had anything like that, I'd ground by his ear, drag him up the hill, and he'd work there till, if he don't want to admit it, we caught, he'd spend the whole time cleaning it up. I mean, and these parents, it's just the response that some of these parents gave, I think was more disturbing to him than what the kids did. They took out like 20 trash bags full of, beer and liquor bottles and
drugs
that too.
Drug paraphernalia.
The cops did get there, and the kids all scattered to the wind. They're still.
Well, you know how these teenage flash parties are. You invite 3 of your friends over, and they each invite 100 of their friends.
A little pyramid game.
I won't say which of my neighbors, but one of my neighbors, quite a few years ago, the neighbor was out working, and the kid has a party, and literally there were like 300 kids out there.
No time.
Yeah. And on the street and all over my lawn and stuff like that. And I think somebody in my house may have called the police. I think I was police court judge at the time.
Oh.
And Bill Pedrick comes up in his cop car, and of course they all start scattering, and he nails a couple of them in my backyard here, and he just ripped into him, and I go out in the backyard, and Pedrick, you know who this guy is? This is the guy who owns this house. Is this party at his? No. The party was somewhere else. Well, what are you doing in his yard? He had him on his knees, apologizing to me.
But it was just terrible, the fact that these parents are trying to stick up.
Yeah,
for
I mean,
kid.
I would. Oh man.
I mean, kids do dumb things, and they have to be held
Kids
accountable
do
for what they
dumb
do.
things,
All right,
and then
but
you deal
don't
with it.
alibi for them.
Right,
And don't say,
exactly. I used to see that in court. There are people who just, but on the other hand, there's the other kind of parent, and I remember, a kid whose father I knew, was older than, father's much older than me, but I knew the father. And he came to court with his kid, and he just hung his head in shame the whole while. And it wasn't even anything major at all. But he was so ashamed that his kid had to appear in court for this, and that kid never ever got in trouble again, ever. No. Not even remotely. Not as a now as a responsible adult.
Shame is not part of the makeup of many young people today.
Yeah.
It's not. When I was principal at the high school there, every year the kids would do something, in the dead of the night they'd come up and TP the guard shack out there or something. Well, one year they got on the roof and came in the courtyard there, and they painted and did some things to the ramp that used to be in that courtyard there. Well,
I mean, they got up on the roof over and carried that in. Those like James Bond for that.
Yeah. Okay. So they do that.
Well, you got to give them a certain amount of credit for creativity at that point, right?
Okay. We'll give them that credit. And it just so happened that as the kids were vamoosing in the dead of the night, that one of the city cop cars came by and stopped some of the kids and talked to them to find out, well, we're out here, blah 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 blah. Kids go home. Okay, so next morning we come into school and we see what happened. And we didn't have cameras yet, and so our
and even if you did, that would probably be the last place you would have put one.
Well, we would have got them coming in.
Coming in. Right.
Up over. So the school resource officer, starts doing some checking around, and kids talk. You do something.
Yeah, it doesn't take long.
Yeah, tell about it. So we picked up a couple of names, and we called them in, and all right, did something, so I make those phone calls first and told parents, okay, my kid did whatever you got to do to him. And we were still not satisfied we had everybody, so our resource officer calls the APD up, do you have any kids out last night, anything? Oh yeah, we stopped so-and-so and so-and-so, and the one kid's in school, we pull him in. Yeah, I was part of that too. Okay, but nobody's given any names. But the cop gave us the name of one of the kids that wasn't in school, and so I called the dad up and I said, Mr. So-and-so, I said, I need to have you come up to school today because your son was part of a group that basically vandalized some of the school property. Not my kid. It's the one that happened. I told him about it. He said, no, my kid was home in bed. I said, sir, I respectfully tell you that he wasn't. He said, well, I ain't gonna put up with this bullshit, he says, you know. I said, your son's not in school today. Yeah, he's home, he didn't feel good. I said, you go talk to your son. And you tell him how we know it's him. Guy calls back, he says, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. He says, my son's gonna be up there now. And he says, you can do anything you want to him. You can have him spend every night up there for a week helping the James. He said, I am so sorry that it happened. I said, I understand. And you always have to recognize that kids don't always, are not always the most forthcoming when it'll serve their interest to try to get out of it, you know. I said, I know. I said, I'm not mad. I'm just saying, you know, always check first, because we don't go looking for trouble. We don't go making stuff up, you know. But the father was the father was humiliated. And by the time the kid got to school, he was humiliated too, because the father gave it to him, you know. But
and you know, and it can be any, you know, kids are kids.
Oh.
I mean, these things happen.
Oh.
You know, if they're still doing it when they're 23, then you
They got
start
some
worrying.
issues. Yeah. But
you know, I can recall several times over the years where there'd be a series of random vandalism acts around town, and the city would be up in arms as long as, and I mean this sincerely. What I'm about to say, as long as the public thinks it's some anonymous Puerto Rican kid doing it, they're outraged and want to hang whoever did it. Right? Mm-hmm. We got to put on 20 extra cops and capture these people. And in both of these cases that I'm thinking of, it turned out that the people doing it were the sons of prominent Amsterdam citizens, and then you never heard another word about it.
Oh, kids
well,
being
the outrage went away overnight.
Kids being
kids are kids. Kids are just kids.
You know, and it doesn't matter where they are when they decide they're going to do something. If you remember, when we were at Scully, they had the first Earth Day.
Yeah, you were. I was already.
I
was already in college.
So it was 70.
It was 1970.
Okay, we had the first Earth Day, and all our
activists
kids, went down,
walked out of Scully and down Church Street.
No, it was the other way. They met downtown and they walked up. Okay,
so I remember the pictures from Church Street.
Yeah, right. They're all coming. You know, Danny Blanchfield and
all those
ruffians,
troublemakers, ruffians.
Yeah. Jim Hersey, all those bad guys. You know, are doing it. But there were
abandon your car.
There were two prominent seniors that year that we decided we weren't going to walk to school. Now, I don't know what light bulb went over my head, but when I drove to school that day, I put my car over on the side by the convent. Jack Putman parked his in the middle of the parking lot. It's the only car out there. They got there, and he hadn't locked it, and Blanchfield and Serge and Sitchy and Riley got in it, and they pushed it down into the fields. And they got it.
Because you were supposed to abandon your car that day.
They did. They abandoned it down there, and it was, I don't know, probably that much mud down there. And Jack, he was furious, and it took a whole lot of work to get that car out of there, you know. And again, you know, these are all good kids who see something, and we're going to fix it. We're going to, make it part of it, you know. And I'm thinking, good thing I didn't do it. My dad would have killed me if my car got pushed in the woods and got stuck like that. But you know, there's a mob mentality.
It was a mob mentality, and it was about a week before Kent State, so 2 weeks, and it was.
Yeah, you're right. It was
less than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
About 10 days before Kent State, and tempers were getting high around the country.
Yeah.
And
but you know, this was really well organized because they got there in time for school.
Yeah.
But you know, you got these 300 kids marching up Church Street, and I don't remember where they met. I don't know if they met down at City Hall or.
I thought they just.
No, we didn't walk out. We came in. We came in.
I think they converged at the Five Corners. I don't
that
think
where-
it was any more than that.
Yeah,
I don't think. I think they all got limousine rides to the.
To there, and they walked up from
And
there.
then
Yeah,
they walked up from there.
Dad dropped me off down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too far to walk otherwise.
Actually, there's a photograph of that. That's part of that became part of the Elwood Museum. One of their posters when Ann Thane was director. Yeah.
'Cause I saw it one of our reunions. I think Jeannie McGibbon or Patty Payton came and had this big scrapbook of all the stuff, and that was one of the pictures.
I was
in there.
dating one of your classmates at the time, and her picture ended up on the front page of the paper, and I was a little annoyed. Being a contrarian that I was at the time.
Well,
I marched in one of those anti-war protests around that time, marching on the Capitol. So I carried a sign that said "Tell it to Hanoi," and I was chanting 1, 2, 3, 4, bomb Hanoi and win the war. And you know what? The state police took footage of me doing it. So I'm probably on.
Some watch list, huh?
I'm probably on some watch list somewhere. Yeah. Look at this dangerous radical.
yeah.
It's funny, and you're familiar with noted presidential historian David Petruccia.
Yes, I are.
He and I have been friends since college, and one of my college classmates was a cartoonist for the Albany Student Press, and he did these kind of primitive cartoons, but they weren't that bad actually. And he did one where he had actually me and David coming across a group of protesting radicals, and David is saying to me, "Come, Robert, let's educate these youngsters," and so we start chanting sanity, moderation, individual liberty, free enterprise, and then the cops come and beat us up in the cartoon.
Oh. You know, it's funny what you think of being radical then and what radical is today, and how the ideologies sometimes swap 180 degrees in there.
Well, there we go. How much time we got here? You watching this?
I'm watching this.
If I could lean forward and read this.
Got 25 minutes left.
More or less.
Yeah.
I got about 15.
Okay.
Right. Oh, well, no,
worries.
because that's right. I was running this before we started the
That's
show.
okay.
Yeah. Well, let's see. So.
Well, now when we get, in 2 weeks, the country's going to close. The government's going to shut down.
I don't think that's going to.
You don't think it's going to shut down?
No.
You think
The cowards will back out again.
I think they're going to use this to put the.
But wait, there's a couple of local things that we need to talk about. We're not going to do the show Tuesday.
Yeah.
The B word was used at Tuesday's Common Council meeting. Bankruptcy.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
Oh, well.
Who used that word?
I think it was Dibus, but they were discussing what options are going to be available, and one of them was the state taking over. We filed for bankruptcy. Well, in fact, in order to file for bankruptcy, you have to list your assets and liabilities.
And we don't know what they are.
Since we don't know what they are, I don't think they can file for bankruptcy. But even if we do, even if the city were to file for bankruptcy, I believe under federal law, which they're entitled to do, and they can then use the bankruptcy to scrap all the employee contracts and start over, which there are certain advantages to that, because then you get rid of the Triborough Amendment problems. But under state law, if a municipality in New York files for bankruptcy, they can do that, but the state comes in and takes over the finances of the city.
Well,
Now, it seems, wow, imagine how our taxes are going to skyrocket, somebody commented. And I said, well, I'm not sure that that's the case, because even if the state comes in and takes over the finances, they still have to abide by state law, which limits the amount you can raise the taxes every year. And we're already raising them 100%, the maximum amount we're allowed to under the law every year. That's what they've been doing on a regular basis since Thane has been in office. So they just see that, say the ceiling as their floor.
Yeah.
So I think that would, probably wouldn't make that much difference. And I did make kind of a wry comment on Facebook yesterday, and that is that perhaps this is it would be appropriate because the people of Amsterdam have forfeited their right to self-government by electing so many clueless people simultaneously.
And didn't the mayor have some unflattering words through one of the speakers, speaking on behalf of the realty company?
Well, I don't know what she expects.
It should be worked both ways. That's what
She says things about this guy on Facebook. How he's just like a crony of these crooked people who are running Ada.
Yeah.
And, I mean, she's since taken some of that stuff down, but she said that. I mean, she absolutely said that. And the guy comes in. Look, he's a professional, and he doesn't want to get involved. His reputation tarnished by getting involved in this thing. And it was terrible what she did. She's entitled to her opinion on what should be done with the building. She's entitled to bully everybody if she wants, but she's not entitled to make reckless name calling of people who are just trying to do their jobs. Too bad they disagree with her.
Yepper. And the poor guys in Ada are getting hit every way, which from her about whatever they try to do or what they don't do.
By the way, it's deep into the program. I should explain that I didn't forget to shave this morning. This is my solidarity with the Boston Red Sox. I intend, by the time the World Series rolled around, to have a beard long enough that people can yank on it every time I hit a home run. It's also my only chance to, get to play for the team, as far as I can tell. Maybe I go in and pretend I'm somebody else. So it's coming in a little gray. I used to have a lot of red hair in my...
I did too.
But anyway,
it's a sign of wisdom.
My brother Sean and I are showing our solidarity with the team. Apparently a lot of people in Boston are too, because they'll go around the park every day. Actually they had some leftover tickets a couple of nights ago, and anybody who had a beard could get in for $1.
Really?
Yeah, something like that. It was
crazy. Napoli should be able to get in twice at that price then for his.
Ah, what a great beard he has. Oh man.
One of the programs on the MLB network was saying how they thought it was terrible that these guys were looking like that. You never look like that if you were a Yankee. Okay.
Yeah, where are they?
Yeah, yeah. Where are they?
Yeah, Johnny Damon had to get rid of his beard when he went with the Yankees, and he was never heard from again.
Yeah, and look at the Oakland A's back in the 70s. Yeah. They all had those big handlebar mustaches. Well, Raleigh Fingers had the big one, the twisted one, but the other ones all had, Joe Rudy and Bando. And they all saw
Fingers down in Cooperstown a few years ago. One of those days where they got all the Hall of Famers signing. Well, Mary didn't follow baseball much in her youth, not like she does now, but she knew who he was immediately. Like, it's Raleigh Fingers.
Still had it?
Still had it.
Still had it,
yeah. Looked good too. He must be dyeing it or something. Who was it died the other day? George Scott, right? Didn't George Scott pass away? The guy who was first baseman for the Red Sox. Terrific.
I didn't hear that.
Back in '67.
Kenny Norton did.
Kenny Norton. Let's talk about Kenny Norton, because that was
solid.
the great era of the heavyweights.
Yeah.
They talk about the 3 Frazier Ali fights, which were all terrific fights. But I got to say that at least 2. I think Norton fought him 3 times, right? But the 2 fights anyway. The first 2 were classic.
He broke Ali's jaw.
Norton fought Ali as well or better than anybody who ever fought him. And part of it was his kind of awkward style or unorthodox stance that he had. It kind of threw everybody off. But Norton was a damn good fighter. He broke Ali, but that also shows Ali at his best, because he's got a broken jaw in the second round and goes the distance, even though he lost the fight. And the second fight, when he beat Norton,
It was
close.
Yes, it
I think it
was.
may even have been a split decision. Or if it wasn't, it was still close because Norton really fought him well, and he proved he could. And Norton went up against Foreman and Frazier and those guys, and fought them well. Lost to them, but nobody. I don't think really seriously nobody fought Ali better than Ken Norton did.
Who's the heavyweight boxing champion of the world today?
Not a clue.
Okay.
Not a
Neither.
clue. We've talked about this.
But then you knew
Everybody.
You did. They were celebrities.
After Tyson, there was what's his name for a while. The guy Tyson bit his ear off there.
Yeah. That's it.
There was a couple of guys for a couple of years. I couldn't even tell you who the contenders are.
No, that's
absolutely not a clue. It's just gone.
Yep. The only fighter I know now is Merriweather because you see his name in the paper already. And I didn't know how much he weighs, what he fights at. All they had in the paper the other day is getting $2.8 million for the next fight. But you don't know. Boxing is not what it was. It's not all this UFC, Unlimited Fight Club or whatever that they do now, mixed martial arts.
Well, that ought to be banned. Notwithstanding one of Jamie's classmates was champion for a while, but that's a brutal sport,
It is brutal.
and
that's why it's popular.
they should never have allowed it in the first place. And I'm glad they've banned it in New York. And I think it was terrible that they had the exhibition of it at Shuttleworth Park. It's just brutal. I mean, it's the Coliseum all over again.
Yeah, it's a tough sport. Tough sport.
And all you're doing is beating the crap out of. There's no finesse. It's just beating the crap out of people. And you can be seriously injured permanently.
Absolutely, you can be. They can pick you up and slam you. Oh.
Yay! Yeah, right. Man. So, we're not going to do that anymore. Not on this show. Yeah. I'll fight the winner, Gavin and Jim.
So you know what? Now, my saga with Obamacare is still going on. That's why I'm not going to be able to be there on Tuesday because I got to go to somebody else now. Yeah. And I finally got the appointment late yesterday afternoon, and I said, I'm just going to tell you, this is just the tip of the iceberg, Obamacare, because no longer can you, as my hopefully doctor and myself, the patient, are going to be able to decide what's best. We're going to have the insurance company decide who's going to get what. They're going to manage the care, and they're going to say yes and no, regardless of whether it's important or not. She said, well, I don't know, but I said, I'm telling you, this is it. She said, well, you're not the first person that said that. So I'm not going to be the last either, because this is what it's a whole new level of bureaucracy that's being created.
And it takes forever for the bureaucracy to catch up with the science. I went through an example of this. I was concerned that I might have some heart problems a year ago, and we were talking about what tests were available. You go through the. I don't know if you ever had catheterization. My father had a dozen of them over the years, but that's a very invasive procedure. I don't care how common it's gotten.
Still,
they're feeding a wire through you into the, from your leg into your heart, and then injecting dye and all this stuff. And you slip the wrong way and you rip an artery open and you're dead.
Irene, yep.
And one of the options that developed was. This, I think it was a CAT scan with where they non-invasive, right? And it was like cheaper by a factor of 100 or something like that, and they couldn't get the insurance companies to pay for it. And the doctor says if your insurance company won't pay for it, I recommend that you pay for it out of pocket because it's not all that much. It's like $400 or $500 as opposed to the 50,000 or whatever for
whatever
it was. And fortunately, they did catch up with it, and I didn't pay for it. But that's, it stifles innovation.
It certainly puts the doctors, they're caught between two minds. Well, you got something, I'm not sure what it is. So do I go ahead and do all these things, or don't I do any of them? Well, I better do all these things, because if I don't do them,
Then you get sued.
you're going to get sued. But the insurance company ain't going to pay for any of them. What are we going to do? And it's just this managed health care.
Right, where the factors are that are going into it have nothing to do with the health of the patient.
Yeah. Oh, Bob Going, he's 62 years old.
Right.
He's only got, on the chart here, it's only got another 12 years to live. Is it worth the investment to get him to 74? I don't know if we could do that.
Right.
Right. And
what's his worth to society?
That's right. That's right. Is he worth the $10,000 you're going to spend, or just tell him, too bad. It's just, the farther away from the action that the decision is made, the less the right chance that the right decision is going to be made is going to happen. And they don't care. Oh, we ain't going to do that. Well, why? Well, we're not.
My father died at 52. It had been in terrible health for 5 years, and I know that nobody was going to do anything extra for him because his heart was so bad it wasn't. But what I wouldn't give for an extra year, just one more year with him.
You can't ever get it back.
Nope.
But this is what we're coming to. And I think
I want every last second out of this life. I want every last second they can possibly get out of it.
But
you want to resuscitate me 20 times? Take all day trying to resuscitate me.
Just get me back.
Yeah, do your best. If there's any chance at all.
But the proof that this is a very bad system is the fact that Obama is allowing so many exemptions not to be part of it, and there's certain segment of these guys don't have to be part of it, period.
Right.
All right. If it's so good, then it should be required of everybody and required of the people who made the law, including you.
Right, exactly.
But it's not.
Nope.
It's only for...
They quietly made all the exemptions for the congressmen and their staffs a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
Obama was issuing exemptions for every favored political group, or labor union or whatever.
Yeah. And one of the things that does is now it's shrinking the pool where the money's coming from. So the person who ultimately gets hammered is not going to be the poor people who are getting it. It's the guy. It's the guy in the middle. The true middle class people are the ones who are going to pay. They're actually going to pay more for the insurance, and they're going to be the ones who are going to be restricted on what that insurance is going to do for them. The poor people are I've got nothing against poor people. But
they're taken care of.
But the people who you're taking it from, the real middle class, are the ones he is here to serve, he says. He is the people that he's taking under consideration and wants to help, are not the people who are being helped. They're not. They're the ones who are taking it on the chin. And it's just
when I was working regularly, I was paying a good chunk of money for my family's health insurance. I was paying into the Social Security system, so I was paying in the Medicare system, so I was paying the health insurance of some anonymous older person somewhere. I own a house, so I'm paying taxes, real property taxes to Montgomery County to pay for the Medicaid and the Child Health Plus for people I don't know but live in Montgomery County. I'm paying their health insurance. A good chunk of my salary went to state income tax, which was paying for those people as well as my federal taxes that we're going to pay the other part of that for some of these. So ultimately I was.
You're working for a lot of people, Bob.
I was just for their health insurance. I'm talking about. Never mind the rest of the benefits.
They're grateful.
Well, regardless, the whole system is ridiculous, and I really think Carl Strock had it right when he said, "You want to reduce the cost of reduce healthcare costs, eliminate insurance." If doctors had to actually get what people could afford to pay, they'd be charging you a whole lot less. Of course, you got to amend the tort process as well, because it's that's what's really killing it. The cost when a doctor has to pay six figures in malpractice insurance to protect himself from greedy lawyers, where the sky's the limit with the juries because they know everybody's got insurance.
Just vicious cycle, and who's getting hammered?
Yeah,
The guy in the middle.
it just gets ridiculous. And so doctors are dropping out.
They won't take it. They're not taking
They sure don't
patients.
They sure don't want to practice in New York. And so there you are. So then you move out to where things are better, and the states get strained, and there's nobody left to pay these bills, except us suckers. Does that about do it for today?
Yeah.
All right.
We can leave that note. But if you're interested in handling tort reform, contact the firm of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe, and we're glad to take your case.
They'll take your case and they'll charge you well.
That's right.
Anyway.
If you don't pay, they'll sue you.
All right. I'm Bob Going. That's Gavin Murdoch. There'll be no radio show by us guys on Tuesday because all three of us are busy elsewhere. But we should be back again next Friday. At least
sunny weather again.
Yep, and we'll give you more of the show with no name.